Mark Schlereth, friend of the show, joins us each and every Tuesday at this time. Of course, you can catch him NFL on Fox, also 104.3 The Fan out in Denver. And Mark is on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Mark, let's start off in Indianapolis. Obviously, Frank Reich gets fired. Jeff Saturday is brought in as the interim head coach. What do you make of all of these decisions over the last 36, 48 hours by Jim Irsay?
Yeah, well, they've been interesting to say the least, right? And Jeff is a good buddy of mine, and I'm really excited for Jeff. Obviously, apparently, you don't have to go through the Rooney Rule when you appoint an interim head coach. I mean, obviously that doesn't apply apparently. And then, it's just going to be interesting how the coaches respond on that coaching staff that are currently there right now. You've got John Fox, who coached two teams to Super Bowls, both Carolina and the Denver Broncos, albeit losses in both of those, but. He's been a head coach for multiple teams. I think Carolina, I think the Chicago Bears, I know the Denver Broncos, so I might be missing one there. Gus Bradley's on that staff as well. Great guy, great coach. Been around for quite some time. Was the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach for quite some time, about 3-4 years. So, and he's been around forever. So, how do they respond to that? I have no idea. But like I said, I'm really happy for my buddy Jeff. But it is kind of strange. Now, I will say this, there's so many issues right now in the coaching ranks because everybody wants to hire a new offensive genius, a young guy that's going to call plays. And one of the issues that you get into is game management, how you manage the game when you're trying to call plays and you're trying to put it all together. And I think it's a really hard thing to do. And, we've seen plenty of coaches over the course of time that really, I look at Pete Carroll. Now, Pete Carroll was a defensive coach, and he was a defensive backs coach. Then he, worked his way up to being a coordinator. And, since he's taken over in Seattle, and obviously he had a lot of success. I mean, he was a head coach for the Jets, head coach for New England, and got fired at those places and then went on to become the head coach and build a dynasty at USC. But then, he's been in Seattle, and ever since he's been in Seattle, he hasn't called the defense. He's always been kind of the grand poobah of all things football. And he's about establishing the culture of the organization, establishing the competition. You walk into that facility. I've been in there many times, called many Seattle games. I mean, they're competing when it comes to eating lunch. Like, who eats lunch the best? Everything's a competition. And it all is derived from Pete Carroll. That's the way he runs his organization. So, like, if you want a guy that's been there during the glory years to build culture, to do those things, like, there's nobody better than Jeff at doing that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see exactly kind of what goes down here and how they respond. They already named some, assistant passing game coordinator who's 30 years old was going to be the new play caller. So, I mean, we'll see what happens.
There's been some reports that Hackett's seat is warm in Denver. Has John Elway reached out to gauge your interest, Mark Schlereth, in the head coaching job of the Broncos?
No, well, John's not really that involved anymore. He's kind of a consultant, a figurehead, so to speak. But really, it's George Payton that runs that show. And listen, man, Nathaniel Hackett's a friend. I mean, I really want him to have success, and so I'm not sitting here lobbying for any of that. I've got enough problems, let alone taking on that one. So I mean, this is just a really odd move. I mean, it's an odd move. Like I said, man, I'm really excited for my buddy, but hopefully it works out. So we'll see what he does. I know what I know a couple things I do, but it's going to be interesting to see exactly what happens.
Mark Schlereth is with us here, Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports, of course. He is on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Mark, Aaron Rodgers, 3 picks from the 22-yard line and in versus the Lions defense on Sunday. The Packers are 3-6, 3 very tough games ahead. I don't want to go too crazy here just yet, but do you think there's any chance that Jordan Love gets a look by December?
No, I don't think it has. I don't think it has a lot to do with. I don't think it has a lot to do with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Aaron still is incredibly skilled, and there's a lot of frustration right now, and I don't know that Aaron, probably handles that well. Of course, we live in an age where, we have to ask to yell at somebody anymore, and there's a 1-800 line if coach coaches you too hard, I suppose, where you can call up and talk about your feelings. So, I just don't think guys, especially young players, probably respond to Aaron's way of coaching them up. So, I don't know that that's. I'll tell you the other thing about Aaron, and I had this conversation with him a couple of years ago in the midst of his, winning back-to-back MVPs, and he's like, hey man, I'm going to let the scheme dictate where I go with the ball on first and second down. But anytime we're in critical situations, second down and long situations, or third down and medium to long, and we've got to convert, I'm going to 17, Devontae Adams. I mean, that's the smartest dude on the football team. Like, he knows coverage, he knows leverage, he knows what I'm thinking before. He sees it the exact same way I do. So we're always on the same page. You don't have that security blanket. You don't have that matchup guy in critical situations. And you've got to understand, that's all he did for all his years under
Mike McCarthy.
Now I can't. Yeah, Mike McCarthy. I want to call him Mike Holmgren. I knew that wasn't right. Mike McCarthy's thing was, hey, Aaron, you just pick out the matchup you like. That was their offense, and so it's different now. But when you have guys that aren't running the right routes, when you have guys that don't see, coverage like you see coverage, don't see the issues, don't see, hey man, you're hot on that. You got to get your head around. I got to get you the ball right now. When that stuff is happening, it's incredibly frustrating for a guy as accomplished as Aaron Rodgers and a guy that is that good. Now there's some other issues there. They had a play yesterday where they had one-on-one on the outside, kind of an uncovered dude off a run play. So it's technically, I guess, an RPO where Aaron pulled the ball and threw it, and the guy, it just got dropped. It was right there, and and the offensive line comes off. They're smoking. They've got a great. It's great. It's a short yardage situation right on the goal line, and you can see the frustration with the offensive line. Like, why are we throwing it there? So there's a lot of stuff going on there, and changing the quarterback ain't going to help anything. That's a much deeper issue with the players you have decided to go with, and the fact that you can't keep, or you decide not to keep, Devontae Adams.
Mark, as always, we appreciate your time. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good. Take care, guys.
Thank you. There goes Mark Schlereth, NFL on Fox 104.3 The Fan, Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. I was not